Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. My name is Andrew, coming to you from the beautiful Carolinas. Today's topic is going to be how the narcissist watched, waited, and planned. Think about that for a minute. Everyone, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, and share. So the narcissist was watching you, and they were waiting, and they were planning. From the very beginning when they met you, the narcissist had an agenda. They had something in mind for you and for that relationship that you entered with them. Now back then, again, remember, you didn't know what narcissism was. You had no reason to believe that other people, perhaps even people that you fell in love with, would be actually your worst enemies, and they'll be the people that would be trying to tear you down. That's what the narcissist is in a nutshell. But back then you didn't have the wisdom, so you were thinking that people had your best interest at heart. You were thinking that people were like-minded and that they wanted to build people up and they wanted to grow together and to move forward together and to create, maybe even create a family or a business or side hustle, whatever it was. This is what you thought. Now, the narcissist did not think that. They looked at you after they met you, they sized you up, they figured out what made you tick. They wanted to learn your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, your goals. They wanted to learn about your family, which is a pivotal one. Meaning, let's say that you had some broken relationships in the past. Maybe it was your mom or dad or aunt or uncle or brother or sister. Well, the narcissist would be paying very close attention to those broken relationships. One more time, perhaps you overshared and you told them a lot about the intimate details of your life, meaning not intimacy, but who you were close with, who you weren't, who perhaps had done you wrong, who was there for you, if anybody at all was. And the narcissist kept a mental note on every person that you entered a relationship with in the beginning when you met them, because they were sizing you up and they were trying to figure out how to weaponize certain people's relationships against you. And they were watching you and they were observing you and they were letting you overshare. They were letting you over-explain. They were giving you nothing but what you wanted to hear, and they were taking all of this energy from you. And they were plotting and planning to figure out how to get close to you, maybe even to have you fall in love with them or relocate, or to get you away from your support system. Maybe it was your parents who were challenging, or maybe it was a brother, sister, or somebody, or past romantic relationship. These people, i.e. the narcissist, when they met you, usually you were in a very vulnerable position. And when I say vulnerable, I mean you were looking to exit one relationship and you were open to entering a new one, but what you didn't do is you didn't heal. You didn't process from that or other relationship, most likely. And also, you didn't know that narcissism was prevalent. So you went out of the frying pan into the fire, probably. Now, having said that, the narcissist was watching you, and they were watching you and that relationship that you now entered with them each and every day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And they were pressing on the gas pedal of abuse, and they were laying on it more and more. They were having you work for them day, night, morning, 24/7. You would be doing things that the narcissist wanted you to do, when they wanted you to do it, and how they wanted you to do it. You were being gaslit. You were being given the silent treatment. You experienced rage fits. I'm certain you were triangulated. You endured so much, but you couldn't put names to the types of abuse you were experiencing. That is why when you finally get your first light bulb moment and you find that needle in a haystack, i.e. narcissism, that's when you really need to slow your life down and process that that relationship almost took you down for the count, but it didn't. Here you are in the community, you're learning, you're growing, you're teaching if you can, you're becoming awakened and aware, educated and empowered, and you understand that you now are the priority. You come first, second, and third. But what you weren't doing when you first met the narcissist is you weren't watching them and trying to figure out their demise, how you would blow up their life. Why would you do that? You're a stable, healthy, loving, empathetic human being. And you were thinking that that person that you entered the relationship with was similar to you. They weren't. They were a wolf in sheep's clothing, and they were trying to attach themselves to you. What they wanted to do is they wanted you to become 100% reliant upon them for virtually everything. They wanted you to become a shell of yourself. They wanted you to lose your identity to them. They wanted you to be the unpaid helper, the walking apology, the sounding board, the person who would be there for them. And the whole time that you were doing that, remember, you had to juggle your own health, your own finances, your own children, your own relationships, your friends, your work, everything about you. You were being spread way too thin. But what you thought back then is you thought that the narcissist was the most important person in your life. And that was by design. The narcissist wanted you thinking that. That's why in the beginning of these relationships, i.e. the love bomb / euphoric stage, They usually press the gas pedal of fake empathy, fake love, fake caring, fake kindness to get you to fall into their trap. Keep this in mind. The narcissist cannot fall in love with you or with anybody. We now know that. We understand that these people are shallow, they're hollow, there's nothing to them, they're bullies and cowards. And the narcissist knows this too at their core, but of course they will never admit it. But the narcissist was watching you. The next thing they were doing is they were waiting. They were waiting to see, number one, if you would figure them out. Number two, how long that relationship would last. Number three, if they could get new sources of supply without you ever figuring it out. And they don't have to be romantic, although sometimes they are. Number four, how long you would tolerate their poor behavior. How long you would ignore the red flags. How long you would not trust your intuition and instincts. And how much longer you would continue to fall for the mask. That's another thing the narcissist was watching. They were watching if you were still believing in the mask. And every now and again, you would try to put up a boundary, or every now and again, you would try to have an adult conversation with the narcissist and say something to them like, hey, what are you doing? I didn't sign up for this. This relationship, it's one-sided. Like, this isn't what we talked about when we got married or moved in together. And they would just look at you and they would say, oh, this one's starting to figure out some things, which was you. Maybe I better give them a little bit of fake empathy or fake love or fake kindness. Or maybe I'll throw some word salad at them. Or maybe I'll just gaslight them, get them off my scent. But whatever I will do, I will realize that this person, which was you, was getting closer to figuring out who I was. Now again, throughout the relationship, I can assure you, you had many close calls to actually putting two and two together and figuring out that perhaps you did marry a narcissist, or one of your parents was the narcissist, or your siblings, or whoever. But you couldn't quite put it together because you weren't meant to figure it out until you did figure it out. That's one, and I know it's a tough pill to swallow. But another thing was, the narcissist was waiting to see if you would ever see behind the mask. And they can sense, they have a sixth sense. They can tell when you're catching on to them or when you're not. This is before you have the wisdom. And so they were watching you and they were waiting. They were checking the pulse of that relationship. They were watching your life implode and their life improve. They were watching you put them high up on a pedestal to the detriment of yourself. They were watching you, because they were doing this, become financially abused, mentally abused, emotionally abused, at times physically abused, spiritually abused, every way possible. And they were watching your life implode. They were watching your bank account go from, let's say, having a bunch of money in it down to zero, and now you had a mountain of credit card debt. They were watching your immediate family members no longer communicate with you because they had driven wedges between you and them. They were watching all of your friend groups from years ago, perhaps even decades ago, not talk to you because they drove wedges between them and you also. They were watching you become isolated, and they were waiting for you to move again and again and again. That is why so frequently the narcissist moves from town to town, city to city, at times country to country, because there's no stability with these narcissists. What they want is new, fresh blood. They want new opportunities, new friendships, and or i.e. sources of supply relationships to build. That is one of the reasons why they're always on the go. That's why they can't sit still. And that's why once you buy one home with them, they want a bigger home or a better home or something else. There are multiple reasons there. One is because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses, or they're in competition with their friends or other people. But another reason is because they've probably worn out too many people in that town and they want to go on to a new place. But now we mentioned so far that the narcissist has been watching and waiting. And now what they're doing is they're planning. What the narcissist does here is some of the most dastardly things they will ever do, and they do a lot of not good things. But number one, they were planning for the ending of the relationship, i.e. the discard. Now, does each and every narcissist know exactly when they're going to end the relationship? Of course not, they don't. But they do look for key dates, i.e. holidays, your birthday, when your health took a hit, when you lost a loved one in the family, when you lost your job, when you had challenging concerns that they didn't want to pay attention to. The narcissist looks to inflict the most damage in pivotal parts of people's lives, and they know what they are doing. If you think for a moment the narcissist doesn't know what they're doing, just play this a few times. Do they wake up the same way you do? Yes. Do they put their clothes on the same way you do? Yes. Do they talk the same language as you? Probably. There you go. 3 check marks. Boom, boom, boom. So all these things, the narcissist was watching you, they were waiting, and they were planning. So they were planning for the discard. They were planning for the new supply, perhaps figuring out when they're going to insert that person. They were planning on if they would hoover you or not. Not all the time, but at times. They were planning on how much money they could take from you. They were planning on how to keep you as stuck as possible, i.e. if you're trying to divorce the narcissist, it usually doesn't go swimmingly. It usually takes a lot of time to break free from the narcissist, because what they do many times is they play the long, drawn-out waiting game. and they know that you want to get out of that relationship as soon as possible. So they just wait it out and they don't accept your agreement or your offer, because they know that the longer they can wait it out, the more pain it's going to create for you and the more discomfort in your life. But this is all by design, again, because remember, the narcissist can't love. They don't love anybody, and they certainly didn't love you. Having said that, divorcing the narcissist, they want to inflict the most damage on you and anybody, including the children, the grandparents, the friends, the coworkers, the colleagues. That's what the smear campaign, a part of it is. When the narcissist is telling complete, flat-out fabrications about you, about what you're doing, what you're not doing, your concerns. You have all these alleged problems and everything, but the people that know you, they know that you don't have any concerns or problems. Are you a human being? Do you face challenges? Yes, but the people that know you don't know what narcissism is. So many times they take a bite of that forbidden fruit, which is the smear campaign, because number one, the narcissist is so good at inflicting the smear campaign or administering it. And number two, you can't defend yourself because you don't know that you're being smeared. So what happens is many people believe the drama, the manipulation, all the nonsense and the lies, flat out lies of the narcissist when they're listening to the smear campaign. But what happens eventually over time is these people, i.e. fly monkeys, enablers, or people just not strong enough to make up their own opinions or decisions, these people, again, are susceptible to falling into the narcissistic relationship. They just don't know it. And many of them will be targeted right after you were, or maybe they're being targeted right now, or maybe they were being targeted before you. I can't tell you. But nobody is immune from the narcissistic cycle. Not one person. Not the narcissist children, not their colleagues, coworkers, neighbors, friends, people in hobby groups or communities they're a part of. Nobody is immune. That's why you need to have boundaries. That's why you need to go no contact and block these people, delete them and remove all flying monkeys and people associated with them. If not now, when? If you can't do that, I get it. Utilize gray rock, become boring and dull, and get off the radar. Now, what I'm mentioning to you is, think about the effort and the energy it took one person to watch you, to wait, and to plan for not only your demise, but for the disruption in your life for the period of time that that person, i.e. the narcissist, was in your life. They took a lot of energy and effort into blow up periods of your life, and they succeeded. Until when? Until they can't, and they didn't any longer. That is why many times post-narcissistic relationship, once people have healed, and they've healed properly, and they've slowed their lives down, and they've taken a big look back at the past in that narcissistic relationship, they realize not only are they fortunate, but they're grateful. Not to have gone through it, of course not, but that they're out. And now their energy is returning, their health is returning, their finances are returning, they're rebuilding their friend groups. They're falling in love again if they want to. They're traveling, they're reading a book, writing a book, teaching a class, taking a class. They're doing all the things they want to in their time, but not in the time of the narcissist. But going back to what I mentioned, the narcissist did a lot of heavy lifting. They had to manipulate multiple people. I would say sometimes upwards of 10, 20, maybe even 100 people to get them all to believe in the smear campaign and to get them to believe that you're the unstable one. You are the one with the concerns and the challenges, but nothing, and I mean nothing, could be further from the truth. You were up against a behemoth. You were up against somebody who you put your faith and trust and love into, and they took it and they turned it and weaponized it against you. You see, your pain was their pleasure. Your misery and discomfort was their pleasure. Them watching your life implode when they were laying on the gas pedal of abuse was their pleasure. And you didn't know what you were up against because you weren't taught this in school. So you kept on working for the narcissist, working for the relationship, trying to get back to the love bomb / euphoric stage. We now know that you could never get back there. You got glimpses and glimmers of it here and there to keep you in line until the narcissist could get your replacement, i.e. the new supply, lined up, and they could go on to a other unsuspecting person or a recycled person that doesn't have the wisdom and isn't strong enough to break the bond. But all these things I'm mentioning to you, think about this. In any relationship you've ever been a part of, you probably entered it and just said, hey, it seems like a nice person. Yeah, let's grab a lunch and maybe a dinner, and maybe it turns into friendship or romance, whatever it is, but you never really put much thought into people. You probably knew that you had a high level of empathy. Maybe you didn't even know what empathy was until you watched one of my videos. But when you met the narcissist, you were believing in them. You were believing in all their words. You were believing in the mask. Looking back, that is a very, very concerning thing, that a person could go to so much lengths to try and infiltrate someone else's life and then literally try to implode it. But that is how the cycle goes on. The cycle goes on in a loop, and it continues to go on and on and on, but it needs to go on without you, because once you've identified that you were or are in a narcissistic relationship or with a toxic person who does not have your best interest at heart, 1 minute in that relationship is 1 minute too long. That's why, again, you need to heal. You need to have boundaries. You need to enter the third version of yourself, the strongest, most galvanized version known to humankind. But to get there, you will have to take your first step on the healing path. Keep in mind that the healing path is not linear. It takes time. It takes a lot of time, but in your time, you will heal if you apply the tools and utilize the comments and the tools that are provided for you here on the channel. This is what we must do. We must now know that not everyone has our best interest at heart, and that one person, or perhaps you were in multiple narcissistic relationships, they went to great lengths to watch you, to wait, and to plan for so many things that happen in your life that even right now you probably don't even know about. I can tell you right now, the further I get away from the relationship, the more I recognize patterns of people that I had put trust and attention into. And the further you get away from these people, i.e. the narcissists or toxic people, the more clarity you get. The more clear you get, the more you see people for who they really are in the past, in present day, and in the future when you meet people. Because this is a superpower. It's a superpower on steroids. And what that superpower is, it's the narcissistic abusive cycle language that we all speak once you have healed, once you've reached that pinnacle of indifference, that mountaintop of indifference. Because after all the work you have placed into yourself to process things, to heal, to slow your life down, to weed out toxic people, and to have boundaries in place, this is the path. After you've done all that work, you owe it to yourself and those loved and trusted ones around you to insulate and protect yourself and not give any energy to the energy vampires, not do anything because just someone asks you to do it, and not go back into the cycle of any narcissistic relationship, because now we can identify the signs and we trust our instincts and intuition and we pay attention to red flags. But before I close the video, understand the narcissist, they watched you, they waited to see when that relationship would break because they were trying to break it. They planned for that relationship to break. They also watched a new supply. They waited for the green light from the new supply, or when the new supply fell into the trauma bond or the narcissistic fog, whatever you want to call it. And then they planned to take what they could from that person. So this is how the narcissist goes from here to here to here. Hopefully not to that person behind me, but to here, to here, to here. And it's not until you get the wisdom you really understand that you really need to go no contact and block these people. So everyone, that's the video. I hope you liked it. I loved doing it from the beautiful Carolinas and the rainy Carolinas. This is Andrew. Namaste. Have a great afternoon, evening, or morning, no matter where you are on the planet. You are not alone. Remember that you are not alone. And the narcissist did. They watched you, they waited, and they planned. And that's what they're doing right now, wherever they are gallivanting the globe. The cycle continues because there is only one constant in the narcissistic abusive cycle. It is the narcissist. It is not you. I love you all. God bless you. And I will talk to you tomorrow. All right. Have a great evening, everyone. I love you. And it's raining, so I'm going to go in. Bye.